We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. A man is not free unless government is limited. An informed patriotism is what we want. But still watch closely and don't be afraid to see what you see.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
When in hell are all you people going to wake up?
Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report.
Well, hello, America. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Monday, April 28th, 2014 edition of Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report. Brought to you live from PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America program. Hey, Watchmen, I got a message for you in a minute. I'm Joanne Moretti, and my great co-host, JoJo Norton, will be here in a few minutes to join me. Our call-in number, remember this now, it's important, 714-888-7404. And our chat rooms, both at Blog Talk Radio and right here at PRN Radio Network, are open for you. Our amazing colleagues, Lynn, AstroTurf, and Famous Anna, are in the chat rooms, as well as several other colleagues of ours, and they put all the links to our sources and documents and other pertinent information into the chats as a convenience. Tonight, they're also going to be monitoring and updating tornado and storm info as it becomes available. That's important, and thank you, ladies. They're way more than just people who put links in chat rooms. They're fantastic researchers and very dear colleagues. We have a lot of info to get to on the show today. There's news breaking all over the place. But before we start the show, as always, we must first do our disclaimer. This is just to let the feds, the FCC, and anybody else who might be interested that anything said on this show is solely my responsibility and not that of our gracious sponsors, PRN and the Watchmen of America. The disclaimer goes like this. The comments made by hosts and or guest hosts or phone callers of the PRN radio network do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else for that matter, of members of the Watchmen of America program or Patriot Resistance website, either in past, present, or future broadcasts. Now that that's out of the way, I'd like to introduce my awesome co-host, JoJo Norton, and get this show started, but I have an announcement, too. Let me open up JoJo's mic. Hey, JoJo.
Hello.
All right, I wanted to bring you on. You all know that there's devastating tornadoes all over the South, and they continue as we speak. Some of our colleagues are even under the gun. We have 2 watchmen who are unaccounted for. Alabama watchmen, please check in with your commander or call our phone number, 714-888-7404, so we can let everybody know that you're okay. We can pass this information on. For everybody else who's under the gun, in the tornado area, those who have been affected and who are about to be affected, please check in with the commanders. As a matter of fact, the 2 watchmen that are unaccounted for, a couple of the watchmen are on their way to go look for them. So, Alabama Watchmen, if you haven't checked in, please do so. Please do so. Please do so. We're concerned.
And I need to tell you, if there's some way you are listening, because I'm sure your cell phone towers are down, you can usually get through the text message. If you can't get out by phoning, by using the telephone because the cell towers are down, normally it's a little slow, but it may take a while, but you can usually get a text message out. So, of course, I mean, I guess if you could hear us, you probably don't need to use a text message, but everybody else can know that for a future time.
Okay, that's a good information. Yeah, if you can't call, text. If you can hear us, Alabama Watchmen, you know who you are. Check in with your commander immediately. Check in with somebody, anybody, and make sure they can get the information out. Because right now there's a posse on their way looking for you. And all of the rest of you, Watchmen of America, please check in with your commanders if you are in that tornado area or about to be in that tornado area. Get together. All right, now, ordinarily we don't do this, but because of the circumstances, I would like to open our show with a prayer, if you will all indulge me. I'm not real good at this, no preacher. And anybody who doesn't pray, then, just skip this part. But right now, I found a really nice prayer, and it's a prayer to ask for shelter against the storm. And like I said, please indulge me. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. God of heaven and earth, God who carries our lives and the lives of our whole community in your hands, be with us in the peril of this day or night. Help us to realize our anxieties and fears into those same caring hands, knowing in faith that your will for us is life and everlasting good. Send your holy angels to watch over us and guard us. May they spread their holy wings to give us shelter against the storm. For you alone, O God, are good, all life, all love, and that love for us. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Thank you all for indulging me in that. Jojo, there's tornadoes going on all over the place, man. Yesterday...
Well, Joanne, I just looked at the radar just now to see, because it's headed toward Carroll Ray, but this is a slow-moving storm. I mean, there's still a tail end of it still in Louisiana, and it hit here at 3 o'clock this morning. So that's 16 hours, and it hadn't cleared out of Louisiana yet. It's still taking up most of the state of Mississippi and edging into Alabama now, and it's been in Mississippi, 6-7 hours?
Yeah.
And it said it was moving 50 miles an hour, but it's not. It's staying. It's moving. It's staying in there. And I know I tell everybody, I probably can't make a full sentence tonight because I haven't had any sleep. So I just want y'all to know I'm not impaired, other than I just can't talk good because I'm sleepy. So yeah, I didn't want everybody to think I was drunk or something because I can't talk good.
Yesterday, all through, the South, Arkansas especially. I mean, we were up most of the night monitoring these storms, and we were getting video in and pictures, and the videos were heartbreaking. One video, a man rode down the highway, and you can hear children and women screaming, and the devastation was just unmerciful. And then today, we watched tornadoes rip through Yazoo and Tupelo. There's 3 confirmed dead in Limestone, Alabama. And, we don't know who they are. But, I mean, rescuers scoured rubble, and there was just, we know that 9 are confirmed, 14 were confirmed dead. It was 16, but they reduced it to 14, and that was just in the ones last night. Faulkner County, Arkansas, particularly the suburb of Mayflower and Valonia, were the hottest hit yesterday. And today we watched as Tupelo was torn apart.
County. That county where Mayflower and Palmdale and all is Pulaski County. It wasn't White County. It was Pulaski, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but...
And I was looking at the track before we began, and it's heading up into Kentucky, and it's going to clip Illinois. And, I mean, this is just devastating. Pray, pray, pray. And, you guys all know what these folks are going to need. And it's not just a couple of people. It's not one tornado that hit in one small area. I mean, Jasper, remember that tornado? It was a wide swath. Well, I'm not trying to minimize that by any means, but you take Jasper and you multiply it 25 times, and that still isn't going to cover the devastation. These people are going to need help.
How many years ago was it that we had that, those like 5, it was like Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Huntsville,
yeah, that was
Missouri,
like 3 years ago.
Joplin, Missouri, and they all had these wedge tornadoes and just really wiped out whole town. And it looks like Tupelo got taken down pretty hard, and Yazoo City, Mississippi. So.
Yeah, and now Lynn is warning us. Lynn will be monitoring the tornadoes and posting in the chat rooms, too, as a matter of fact. So if you need any information, get in those chat rooms. She's saying warnings now in Illinois, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. This is a long swath. Like JoJo said, the tail end of it is still in Louisiana, and the front end of it is heading up towards the mid-Atlantic. This is a huge outbreak.
I'm in North Louisiana. The tail end now is somewhere around Vidalia, Louisiana. But it went over here at 3:15 this morning. We had one go over me. It hit down about 10 miles from me. But and we didn't have much damage. We had to cut some trees up all night long, clear the highways, but that's really all we had to do. But it went over my area and went into another area, but it was a real rural area, so there's only 2 houses taken out because it was real rural. It was in the middle of nowhere, in other words, so we got real lucky.
Yeah, well, these things are heading towards Athens, Alabama, as far as I can see. Kentucky tornado warning, urgency, immediate status, actual areas affected, Allen, Barron, and Warren. So if you're in Allen, Barron, or Warren, get covered now. Forget the show. Find shelter now.
Yeah, really.
This is just absolute insanity. I personally experienced a Category 4+ Hurricane Charlie down here. When I ever looked out my door, I can't even explain the devastation. And that was just a little tiny storm. The people that were walking around, they had shock on their faces. They were just like in another zone. As time went on, things that I realized that we needed. They needed tops, tents, any kind of shelter you can help them with. Sleeping bags, dry clothes, Tupperware, big Tupperware containers, because the rain and everything gets soaking wet. So you might send dry blankets, but in a couple of hours they're going to be damp and soggy and all that. So have some sort of containers. They're going to need food, water, hammers, chainsaws, pliers, screwdrivers, all kinds of things like that. Shoes. Everything is shattered, broken. There's nails sticking up everywhere. Half these people were in their beds and left their homes if they were able to get out barefoot. So if you got boots that aren't too bad, just give them to somebody. Towels, sheets, cleaning supplies, things like that. Hygiene products, deodorant, baby wipes, things like that. Money to buy those things. So if you can spare even $5, send it to one of the churches. You know what I found out too, JoJo? The Salvation Army was the first. Salvation Army was the first ones out here. They were running around with the food trucks with supplies. The church groups were coming by and clearing brush and using all the chainsaws. They got all those people together. The Red Cross, I'm sure, is in there, but the Red Cross is a process they got to go through. The churches are on the scene. The Red Cross, the Salvation Army, they're right there on the scene. There's Baptists and Catholics and Jewish and everybody.
What I've always done in these instances is I find a church, because I learned this for several disasters. You find a church in the area that's pretty good, and I send money straight to the church. Because the church is actually the first one there immediately. And while we're on that guy that filmed that tornado and drove by that screaming baby, and you know what, people, even if you're not a medic or anything else, you stop and help people. You just don't film and just go by injured people and not stop and help them. There's something you can do, even if you don't have first-hand experience or anything. There's still something you can do. And all these people filming this and leaving hurt people sitting there and just driving by them, I don't know, it just gets me wrong.
Yeah. No, I can understand your feeling. Yeah, just lend a hand. Get in there. Help. I don't know. Like I was saying about the shock, too. This guy might have been in shock at what he was looking at. I certainly was in shock what he was looking at.
That's no excuse. He wasn't in shock. He was just trying to get it on film.
Ian is saying that the folks up there in New York sent out stuff to Long Island and Staten Island churches after the hurricane, and it went straight to the people. Absolutely right. Just go online, find a church around that area, see what they need, and then let's get it to them. The church people are out there, and the Salvation Army is out there. The Red Cross
the Red Cross does a lot of good, but it usually takes them 3-4 days to a week to even mobilize, so.
Yeah, well, the Red Cross comes in, and they do give people, credit card, debit cards, whatever, to help with lost items and emergency things like shelter and clothing and stuff. But that takes a process. You've got to go sit in lines.
So it takes a week or 10 days to get electricity back.
Yeah, it took us 14 days to get electricity back after that hurricane. That's another thing, too. The churches were out there. All the young people from the churches, they were pushing debris out of the street so that the rescue vehicles could get by. There were down wires everywhere. Don't go near down wires. Do not assume that they are safe. If you see a down wire, you automatically assume that's a live wire. Stay away from it. That's important, too. We had a lot of people hurt. Like pieces of their roof tore off, and they didn't realize that it was still attached to the electrical pole. So, to avoid down wires at all costs.
I think it's Millport, Mississippi, just took a hit by a huge tornado 32 seconds ago.
Oh, my God. Millport, Mississippi. We got any watchmen out there?
And then there was one at Rogersville, Alabama. I looked up where Carol lives on the map. She said it's not supposed to get to her till about 9 o'clock tonight. At the end of the show, Carol will be under the gun.
Oh, my God, Carol, stay safe. Listen to the emergency people. If you got to take shelter, do so immediately. Carol's our colleague. She's a financial guru, man. This girl, nobody can research like her. And our watchmen, like I said, we have watchmen missing. Again, let me recap that. Alabama, there's a couple of watchmen missing. Alabama watchmen, please check in with your commanders. If you can't reach your commanders, call or text, even call the show, and I will make sure that message gets to your commander. Anybody in the affected areas or in the areas that are soon to be affected, get in touch with your commander. They're doing roll call. Everybody needs to check in because, before and after a storm, we got to know where you are. Because if anything happens to you, we got to know how to go get you. So everybody, heads up. Alabama, check in, and everybody else, you're doing roll call. Contact your commanders. Watchmen of America, very important. If you got to mobilize to go rescue somebody, you got to know where they are. So please, watchmen, check in. I'll be saying that announcement over and over during the night too, in case people didn't get the.
We just got an announcement from Targus. They've just heard from all he means Alabama.
Alabama.
Just heard from all Arkansas watchmen are accounted for. Okay. Alabama.
All right,
Alabama watchmen.
All right, it was a misprint. Okay, all Alabama watchmen are accounted for. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Everybody else, stay safe. Listen to the emergency services. If the warning signs sound, don't go outside to take pictures. Take your family to a safe place. Check in with your commanders, because if you get buried under debris, we got to go find you. So if you're in the area that's going to be affected, get out in front of it and let everybody know where you are now so that they'll be able to find you later.
But that's,
Tagus, thank you so much. Thank you, Tagus. Yes. Thank you for giving us that information.
Part of what the watchmen do is help their community and help their community stay safe. So once if any of the watchmen are in a situation like that, they'll be out helping their neighbors before anybody else. So that's what this watchman program's all about. Is these type of situations. So they'll be out, trying to help other people too.
This is just it's massive devastation. One storm was on the ground for 29 miles. There was at one point there were 9 tornadoes on the ground at the same time last night, and today we know of at least 3 on the ground in and around the Tupelo area at the same time. These huge supercells, they split off into a bunch of little tornadoes, and then those tornadoes pick up the heat and the moisture, and I guess the winds up top hold that tornado down, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it slows down, so it's not moving as fast, so it's not cutting through and have an ability to dissipate it. They're just staying on the ground and getting stronger and stronger. One storm was a half a mile wide. The pictures are incredible, and the pictures keep streaming in. As we're on the air, there's pictures streaming in over at Twitter. So our crew is trying to monitor it all for you. In our chat rooms, you will see updated emergency information. So keep an eye on the chat rooms. Even if you don't sign in, watch them. If you are in those affected areas, please take shelter. The cemetery's full of heroes. Just seek safety. All right. Anything more you want to do on the tornadoes, JoJo? You want to move on a bit?
We might as well move on because I'm sure we'll be updating through the show.
All right.
So, all right. Well, I had a...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I had an interesting day today. I had lunch with the Rob Manish campaign team, and things are picking up for his campaign. Things are looking a lot better. He's a grassroots guy. He's not supported by the RNC or the DNC, which means that, he's just one of us trying to, do the right thing. I mean, he's a constitutional conservative, and he is a retired colonel from the Air Force. And he said something today. He's been all over this area, and it was just, I loved what he said. He said, "I won't forget you guys in North Louisiana when I replace Mary Landrieu. Louisiana is a boot, not a shoe." What he means by that is everybody knows Louisiana is shaped like a boot. Well, the bottom end of where the shoe is South Louisiana, and that's where, Mary Landrieu's from, and she very rarely even gets to North Louisiana. And about the only time we hear from her is if something has to do with Barksdale Air Force Base. And, well, that's, and all these other politicians we've had, governors and Congress people and senators are from South Louisiana, and we kind of get left out up here in North Louisiana. So he's just letting us know that he knows that this state's a whole boot, not just the bottom end of the shoe. So I thought that was quite, I like the way he said that. But he...
Tell everybody who Rob Manish is.
Rob Manish is a retired colonel of the United States Air Force, and he is running against Mary Landrieu, who is a Democrat. Mary Landrieu's one of the ones that got the Obamacare passed. She was one of the figures.
She was one of the chief cheerleaders.
Yeah, chief cheerleaders. That's a good way of putting it. So, but the problem is we got Manish running. We got Bill Cassidy is in the House of Representatives now from the 4th District of Louisiana, and he's a Republican, but he's a light Republican. He's very moderate. The Tea Party, they had a big Tea Party rally last Friday, and it was just it was down there in South Louisiana, and this is what they said. This guy wrote it. It was written by Matthew Boyle, by the way. He was interviewed by Matthew Boyle, who we've also interviewed before.
Oh, I love Matthew Boyle.
Oh, I do too. And he was interviewed Friday. With Landrieu looming, a more civilized primary in Louisiana. The Tea Party rally held here Friday was only about 50 miles from the Mississippi border, but the primary campaign between Bill Cassidy and retired Air Force Colonel Rob Manish shares little with the bloody feud to the north. Manish, a gruff military veteran with a folksy demeanor who could easily be mistaken for one of the Tea Party activists at the rally in his jeans, boots, and Air Force ball cap, took every opportunity to rip Senator Mary Landrieu, the embattled incumbent Democrat, who has staved off challenges in her last 2 election cycles, but could face the fight of her political life this year. Although he definitely took a shot to Cassidy, Maness' plan to beat Cassidy clearly isn't to run against the three-term congressman. It's to run against Landrieu better than Cassidy can run against Landrieu. As Reagan said, this is a quote from Maness, as Reagan said, bright, bold colors to show the difference, not pastels. Maness said in an interview, well, we need a bold contrast to Mary Landrieu because she has beat a moderate candidate twice in the last two elections. The tone of the rally here in Baton Rouge was not anti-Cassidy or pro-Maness either. The Tea Party Express, which hosted the event, is likely to back Maness, aides said, but hadn't yet. And the event's top non-candidate speaker, Mike Church, focused his line of attack almost entirely on Landrieu and chose not to slam Cassidy. And then this is something that I didn't know, or if I did, I forgot. Church focused on Landrieu, touting efforts she has spearheaded to cancel hundreds of millions of dollars of disaster assistance loans to businesses and local governments in the region given after Hurricane Katrina. She forgave their loan. Maybe I grew up in the wrong state, but I seem to have missed the part where Miss Landrieu has a checkbook where she can write checks directly from the federal treasury. Not only did she get credit for giving this loan, she also got credit for forgiving the $151.7 million in other loans that are forgiven. So, if I had known that after Katrina, I forgot it, but, and that was given to hospitals and schools and different things. $228 million in loans by that point, meaning these loan recipients, school districts, hospitals, and city governments don't have to pay back the money they got from FEMA during Katrina. So he said he became interested in running as he was watching what was going on in politics and watching the health care law, and he just didn't see anybody strong enough running against her. And he did his research, and he decided after researching Cassidy that Cassidy was not a constitutional conservative. And he said that we have a very narrow window of opportunity to get people like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee that have the courage to stand on principle. And Maness is that kind of guy. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I've met him several times. I talk to him quite frequently. So he's the real deal. He's one of us. He's not a politician. He's just one of us.
Louisiana is a very, very important race. Everybody, all politics is local. That's absolutely true. The people in the local area are the ones that are going to actually pick these politicians. However, once these politicians get into the elected position, it affects all of us. Mary Landrieu, she might be down there in Louisiana, but things that she has done has affected each and every American. So it's okay if you're in an area where your politician is safe, it's okay for you to go and help out Louisiana, and especially somebody like Rob Maness. The guy's a patriot. He's a good guy. He's a veteran.
$20 donation. And, he said, I hope I can put this out. I don't see why I couldn't. So far they've raised $900,000 and some change. He said the average donation, but the average donation is $47. So that's grassroots people. That's grassroots people donating. But he said, he doesn't have huge donors like Mary Landrieu does and probably Bill Cassidy because he's got the RNC backing him. But, for every $50 donation he gets, that's a vote. So, if somebody else is getting $500,000 donations, that's only 5 votes. But if you're getting however many $50 donations, that's more votes. So
remember how we pulled together for Scott Brown up there in Massachusetts when he was going to be the 41st vote against Obamacare, which of course they went around him. But there was 5, 10s, $20 donations, and that put him over the top. $900,000 isn't a lot of money if you're fighting the whole machine behind Mary Landrieu or the RNC behind Cassidy.
Even if you've only got $10, 500 people send $10. That makes. And Rob is somewhere every night speaking to people, and it's small towns, events, everything. He's getting out there with the people. So, now he hasn't been on TV or anything like that yet, but I'm sure he will be toward the end of the run.
Yeah.
But getting more and more media exposure. All of a sudden, see, in the beginning of this race, all the news media says, oh, well, it's Bill Cassidy and Mary Landrieu running, and they kind of left Manis out. Well, now the news media is starting to throw Manis's name. Oh, there's actually 3 or 4 people running. It's not just 2 people running.
Yeah, that's good to know. And Matthew Boyle is an incredible little reporter. He really is. He was on our show, as a matter of fact.
Just to kind of get a laugh, I had to go. I checked my voter registration and it was inactive. I had made some kind of error on my address, so I went downtown to the voter registration office today, and I walk in this building and it's got one of those little things you walk through. So I walk through and I beeped. So I turn around to walk back through, and this old guard sitting there, and he goes, "Well, you look all right." He said, "You don't have a gun in that purse, do you?" And I said, "Oh, no, I left it in the car." He said, "All right, well, go on in then." Pretty funny. No, I left it in the car.
Of course I don't have a gun in here, so I don't have to, Hey, I got an update for everybody. Remember we just talked about the people killed in Alabama. I have an ID on them. Rob Tittle, 2 of his daughters, Tori, 20, and Rebecca, 14, were killed. All 6 of the other children were taken to hospitals, 3 of whom have since been discharged. This is coming from Lynn Tittle, one of the daughters. Dan Watson, 31, who served in the Air Force, shielded Lorelei, taking the brunt of the blow to his neck, said Carol Arnett, Dan Watson's grandmother. So I guess they were all huddled in one place, and this guy, Dan Watson, he was 31. He protected one of the girls, but he took quite a blow to the neck, so he's not a relative, but he's in the hospital too. But the dead are Rob Tittle, Tori Tittle, and Rebecca Tittle. Tori's 20, Rebecca's 14. Rest in peace, guys. Oh, God, this is horrible.
Well, yeah, and I want to give a big hoorah for Air Evac out of Valonia, Arkansas. They took a direct hit. Air Evac is a helicopter transport company, and their helipad, they had some damage. Their helicopter was okay, but obviously they're in the middle of the tornado themselves. Well, the whole crew got out, set up, out on foot. The whole, the medic, the nurse, and the pilot. And they set up triage. They started triaging. They were on the ground. They were right in the middle of it. And on the scanner last night, I heard on the scanner that there was people of course, they're transporting people to hospitals by private vehicles because you can't get enough ambulances in there right away. But they actually had a medic in a private car with 3 critically injured children trying to get them to the hospital. And, I just want to give them a good thumbs up for that. So. And I think they later transferred, they flew those kids out. They sent in helicopters out of Texarkana to, after the storm, when they fly again, they sent in helicopters from around the area to pick some of those critical kids up and fly them to children's hospitals somewhere.
All right, northwest Alabama, 8 miles south of Winfield and moving northeast at 35 miles an hour, you have a tornado on the ground. Northwest Alabama, 8 miles south of Winfield, moving northeast, 35 miles an hour. Take cover now. Oh, goodness. And this is still in Alabama. Mm-hmm. And they got tornadoes all the way up to Virginia. This is has to have an outbreak, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. I can't even believe the devastation. This is just, I don't even know what to say. How do you tell people? How do you describe it? All right, let's get back to some news. Obama did it again. He's out there running around the world telling everybody how much we suck. Ulsterman put out a good report. I want to read this to you. It says, he did it again. Obama travels abroad and condemns the United States. Just as he did to start off his presidency, Barack Obama is once again finding fault with America and sharing it with a foreign audience. Imagine what the leaders of Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Syria, etc. must think when Barack Obama's anti-American views seem to align so perfectly with their own. By way of White House dossier, Obama, U.S. has work to do on human rights. Does he mean like imprisoning someone for making an anti-Muslim videotape? Then yeah, maybe he's right. Obama's love of moral relativism was back on display Sunday in Malaysia, where he excused that country's human rights violations by suggesting the United States has some of its own. From his press conference with Prime Minister Najib of Malaysia, I think Prime Minister is the first to acknowledge that Malaysia still has got some work to do, just like the United States, by the way, has some work to do on these issues. Human Rights Watch probably has a list of things they think we should be doing as a government, and I'm going to be constantly committed to making sure that these issues get raised in a constructive way. We have problems in this country. In a free society, there are winners and losers, and sometimes things aren't fair. But we do not have a human rights problem. We don't have an organized system of oppression of people in America. And to suggest this is an insult, not only to us, but to those who face really such oppression. But here's the greatest shocker of all, that I'm forced in this space to defend the human rights record of the United States against the President of the United States. God help us. And that was from our friend Ulsterman. You know, Obama over there saying we have human rights problems. What are these human rights problems he's talking about? How could you know, every time the guy gets out the door, he's running around the world telling people how bad we suck, and we have human rights violations? Over in Malaysia.
That wasn't even the worst of it. You know he went to a mosque in Malaysia on Sunday, and what he said.
Oh, that's our next story, honey. That's
you already have that? Okay. Well, I'll
yes, ma'am, I do.
For you then.
Yeah.
This one will
like
really
Jojo just brought up. While he was in Malaysia, he went to a mosque, and he asked the imam to pray for him. Not only did he ask him to pray for him, but he was speaking Arabic to this imam. Check this story out. This is by Patrick Goodenbo from CNS News. Visiting Malaysia's National Mosque on Sunday, Obama was asked by the institution's imam to end oppression against Muslims worldwide. Now, let me stop right there for a second. Muslims worldwide, there's 6 billion Muslims worldwide, and it seems to me that crew is the ones that are oppressing people, women, Jews, gays, Christians, children. That sounds to me like oppression. Anyhow, as it goes on, this story goes on, it says, against the Muslims worldwide, Malaysia's national press agency, Bernama, reported. Pray for me, Obama replied, according to Grand Imam Ismail Muhammad, who took him on a 25-minute tour of the mosque called Masjid Negara in Malay in Kuala Lumpur. Obama also said every day when he wakes up, he always does his best to put an end to the oppression and conflicts affecting communities. The 70-year-old cleric said Obama had frequently replied with Insya Allah, which is Malay for Allah willing, and Terima Kasih, which means thank you, during the tour. It was nice of them, although he could not speak much of the Malay language, but he understood what I said to him. So this guy speaks Arabic. We knew that. He told us the most wonderful sound in the world was the call to prayer, and he could recite it. And he could recite it perfectly. Now, you know, I'm not going to get on an anti-Muslim rant. You all know what Muslims are, who they are, and what their doctrine is. So, you know, we'll put that aside for another day. But, you know, I don't think that it's the Christians, the Jews, the gays, and the women that are doing the oppressing. And that would be my opinion. We have a telephone call. I'd like to open up this because I really don't know who it is, and you know, hoping it's news. Area code 352, you're live.
Hey, this is Firefly.
Hi, Firefly. What's going on?
Hey, listen, when he was on this tour Sunday, which is yesterday, early in the morning, I had the news on, and I wasn't paying any attention. I was messing with my animals. And somebody asked him, you know, what was his one regret, you know, not spending enough time with his mother, yada, 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 before she died. I looked up, and my blood ran cold. Now, I don't know if you saw this. Here he is in Malaysia. There's two big flags, and it didn't catch it right away. The stars and stripes to the right. If you look to the left, you'd see the red and white stars. The stripes. Where the stars were supposed to be was an area with a crescent moon and a star in it instead.
Ooh.
And he's standing in front of it.
Oh, my God. You know, that's a declaration.
You think?
Yeah. Oh, my God. I'm going to have to go back.
Well, I wish we could find it. We need to find that.
Yeah, our crew can find it. If it's out there, our crew can find it.
It's out there because it was on the news because they asked him. They said, you know, they're talking. It was one of the Sunday news programs that they have around 9 o'clock or so. It was one of those.
All right,
You don't remember if it was NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox?
No, because I wasn't really paying. You know, you're diddling around early Sunday morning, getting ready for church and everything, and I really, I didn't really see what channel it was.
Yeah, that's okay.
It might have been the Today Show channel because I know I had the Today Show on for a while. It may have been. But because the conversation came up, oddly enough, this was not planned about that background. The conversation came up, said about how presidents nowadays are willing to say to the press and own up to mistakes that they've made or regrets. And that's how that started. That's why I wasn't paying enough attention until I looked up and about fell over.
Yeah, well, just those words right there, that we'll find it. Our crew will find it. Thank you very much for the heads up on that. I'm going to have to find that because if he's standing in front of an altered American flag while he's representing the United States of America.
He's got the American flag, sort of, I don't know if they're, it's like the two flags were there and they're kind of like in the middle of them both, the two. But it's still there. He allowed that flag to be posted that way. That's our flag.
Our girl Lynn found it. She says
I
it's
knew.
a Malaysia
I was just
flag.
fixing to look.
Yep. Our
that
girl
mother.
Lynn found it. I just got a message from her. Lynn, if you would you post the link to it in the chat room? Thank you. She's so good. I told you our crew could find it. They're amazing.
The Malaysia flag does have the red and white stripes like our flag does. So
yeah, but if he's standing in front of it,
I didn't know that, but I mean, still.
Yeah, but still, he should be standing in front of an American flag every time he's entertaining a diplomat. The United States flag is on the right side, and the host, whoever the foreign diplomat is, their flag would be on the left, and it should be the stars and stripes, and. Even
right. When you have a visiting dignitary, you have normally you have their country flag there.
Mhm. You stand in front of your own flag. The diplomat stands in front of theirs, and the U.S.
It's just the way that looks. It is. I mean, it stopped me cold.
Yeah. Well, optics is everything. Nothing is left to chance. That was intentional.
Yeah.
So you were right to spot it. Good eye. Good eye. Very proud of you.
Okay, ladies. You all have a good evening.
You too, Firefly. Thank you for calling in, hon.
Okay.
All right. I'll put you on hold if you want to listen on the phone, but if not, just hang up. Okay. All right, hon. All right, Lynn. Thank you. All right. Let's continue on a little bit. John Kerry has caused the biggest uproar in the world right now over calling Israel an apartheid state. Now, I don't know if you all know what apartheid means, but it's not nice. According to the 1998 Rome Statute, the crime of apartheid is defined as inhumane acts committed in the context of an institutionalized regime of systematic oppression and domination by one racial group over any other racial group or groups, and committed with the intention of maintaining that regime. The term is most often used in reference to the system of racial segregation and oppression that governed South Africa from 1948 until 1994. Are you kidding me? I mean, Israel's in a very bad spot. Right now, everybody hates Israel. You got the Arabs and the Jordanians and everybody around them. The Iranians, the Palestinians. Everybody hates them, even the Syrians. Obama has caused even worse rift, because taking one side over another, which it's more than obvious, the side that this administration is taking over Israel. Taking the Palestinian side. I don't know if everybody knows the history, but, Israel's given up a lot of land so far. Now, Obama, while he's jerking around with Russia, is leaving it up to Russia now to handle Israel. You know what's going to happen? I mean, this is biblical stuff here. When he said that they're going to be declared an apartheid, he's also threatening that the Palestinians are going to start flipping out and cause more attacks on Israel. So he's threatening them. He's threatening them with another intifada. And Kerry says that at some point he might unveil his own peace deal and tell both sides to take it or leave it. Since when is that Kerry's job? I don't understand why Kerry would say such a thing. Unless, Israel is doomed and the United States has washed its hands of it. All nations will turn against Israel. That's serious. We better pay attention to that, too. While we brought up Russia, the S&P downgraded Russia today to just above junk. And Russia is flipping. As a matter of fact, they're going to retaliate against us. Zero Hedge put this out. Cyprus and Russia, what's the difference? Aside from the fact that the former was a money laundering offshore center of the latter until last year, of course. If you said one's a lackey to status, selfish banker interests, and after having its economy thoroughly destroyed by the great doomed European socio-political and pathological experiment, came crawling back to its Eurozone masters, while the other couldn't care one bit about Pax Petrodollarina and the global central bank cabal, you're right. In which case, it will also be clear why a few hours ago that joke of a rating agency, Standard & Poor's, which also announced it was affirming France at a AA rating, making it very clear it will no longer accept being sued for telling the truth and downgrading sovereigns, or otherwise have its offices abroad rated, not only upgraded Cyprus from B- to a B, but far more importantly, delivered a political message to the Kremlin and downgraded Russia from a triple B to a triple B-, one short notch away from junk status. This was the first downgrade of Russia by S&P since December 2008. Well, then the Wall Street Journal reports, in our view, the tense geopolitical situation between Russia and the Ukraine could see additional significant outflows of both foreign and domestic capital from the Russian economy, and hence further undermine already weakened growth prospects. Moscow stock index fell by 1.5% after the move. The ruble weakened by 6% against the dollar to 35.977. And then a further cut to junk status would be a big move. But if the crisis in the Ukraine deteriorates further, and we see sustained capital flight and pressure on the ruble and Russian markets further, then it's possible, he said. So anyhow, Russia decided that they were going to take a stab back and respond to this. Now, it says here Russia's response was prompt. First, in retaliation to the downgrade, Russia Economy Minister Alexei, I shouldn't even take a stab at this name, Yulyukev, said S&P downgrade of Russia's rating was expected by investors, and it won't significantly change their behavior. But far more importantly, and ahead of another round of Western sanctions, which appears imminent unless Obama is to look even more powerless than he currently is, they're going to do this. Russia is saying, proposed, Russia should withdraw all assets, accounts in dollars, euros from NATO countries to neutral ones. Russia should start selling NATO member sovereign bonds before Russia's foreign currency accounts are frozen. You know who NATO is, us, right? Central banks should reduce dollar assets, sell sovereign bonds of countries that support sanctions. Russia should limit commercial banks' FX assets to prevent speculation on the ruble and capital outflows. The central bank should increase money supply so that it can state companies and banks may refinance their foreign loans. So Russia's saying, okay, yeah, we'll just give everybody a new loan. We're going to get rid of the dollar. We're going to get rid of every investment that we have in every one of these countries that think they're going to put sanctions on us. So, in other words, a full-blown scorched earth campaign by Russia. So, in doing what they're doing with Russia, they're screwing the whole world, especially the Eurozone. Now, come to find out that Germany is actually helping Russia. That's why the European Union isn't standing up for themselves. So all of a sudden, Obama's got this beef with Russia, and he's going to go it alone. The European Union, who would be most affected by anything Russia does, they're all sitting on their asses waiting to get rescued by the United States. Oh, let the United States do it. They're not talking about using planes or any kind of force or any kind of sanctions or anything else like that. They're just sitting there just waiting to get rescued, like little sheep. Why should we stand up for them when they won't stand up for themselves?
The Fourth Reich It's been explained by this guy. He's an old-time reporter. It's on my page. It's only a 15-minute history lesson. It's all about the Nazis in Germany and Hitler and the Fourth Reich, which is, I guess, what we're living in now, and how it's really about, money. And it's a 15-minute YouTube video. You just type in Jim Mars, and he's got a lot of hour-long ones, but I found a 15-minute one where he just gets right to the point and explains it. Explains how the Nazism was set up with Hitler in Germany, and how, pretty much Hitler was doing the money people's bidding, and then they decided to change their tune and go after him. It's a really good 15-minute
That's what they did to
lesson.
Gaddafi, too.
The Fourth Reich is what it's called. Jim Mars.
Yeah.
He's a great historian, and he's a great reporter.
Firefly, who just called in, says, I also fear that the Lord is taking his hand off our country big time. Just look at what's going on now. Global warming, I don't think so. No, global warming didn't cause this, and you could be right. Remember, in the Bible it says that all nations will turn against Israel. The ink wasn't even dry on the transcripts that came out of Kerry's mouth, and a tornado outbreak happened.
Well, listen, and then there's another thing.
Coincidence?
If you look at the history of the is it a triad? It's not a triad. It's called something else. The 4 blood moons that's hitting this year. We had one April 15th. We have another one in October. There's history.
I'm going to die. There is history.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even if you don't believe in the Bible or whatever, you can go look at the other scientific evidence.
Right.
So we got to keep an eye on that.
You got to know history so you know what got us to this point. We are getting pretty arrogant. Obama has destroyed every bit of foreign policy that we could have ever had, up to and including Israeli peace talks. They should have stayed neutral. They shouldn't have taken the Palestinian side over the Israeli side. They shouldn't have taken any side. If you're brokering a deal, you don't tip the scale like that. And, of course, that signals to the Palestinians, don't make any deals. There's a whole bunch of money in it if you don't. Meanwhile, the Palestinians just signed an agreement with Hamas. And Israel said, if you're going to sign agreements with people who hate Israel, how are you going to have peace talks with us? Obama is already trying to overthrow Netanyahu, by the way, just like the Soros groups overthrew the Ukrainian president. Those same groups are trying to overthrow Bibi. So keep that in mind, too. Things are heating up. And then as far as Russia goes, who's going to stand in Putin's way? Putin rolled up, threw the government out, and just took over, didn't even fire a shot. And he's marching right through the Ukraine. He's halfway to Kiev right now. And Kiev is actually a big goal because that used to be the head of the Russian empire. But Putin's not going to slow down. Actually, the things that Obama is doing is enabling Putin. Maybe this is his flexibility. All these pieces are coming together, and nobody's getting in Putin's way. Why is that? And, this half-assed talk with Obama. It's all talk. He's not going to do anything. What can he do? What are you going to go to war with Russia? And, the ones that are going to be affected is the European Union. We'll go to war with Russia, but the European Union's going to sit this one out? I don't think so. Why would we help people who won't help themselves? Those gas lines. We've been doing it a long time. Yeah, well, those gas lines that run throughout Europe that come out of the Ukraine that are controlled by Russia, they're not going to tip that apple cart. Russia will raise the price on them. There's pipelines all through Europe, not just coming across the Ukraine, and they're controlled by Russia. So what's the European Union going to do? Cut off their fuel supply? Because they're mad at Russia? No, they're not going to do a damn thing. They're going to say, help us, help us, help us. No, help yourselves this time, guys. They're all NATO countries. Look what happened in Libya. The French started it.
It all has to go back to money. It all has to do with the globalist money, the big bankers, the people that control all the money in the world, the people that control the Federal Reserve, the petrodollar, no matter how you spin it, it all goes back to all that. Oh, and in this Fourth Reich thing, they talked about how Germany formed their own bank. Germany started making, Hitler started making his own money, formed his own bank, one of them being Deutsche Bank, and he named a couple others. Anyway, it's a great 15 minutes. Maybe, Lynn, if you go to my page, maybe you can stick it in the chat room. I don't know.
It's always the money. Follow the money. That is the number one cardinal rule. Follow the money. Look at Gaddafi. Gaddafi got away from the central bank. He didn't want to use the United States dollar. He had his own gold-backed dinars that he was pimping. That's what got him killed. You know, they didn't care what else he was doing, but when he started moving away from the petrodollar, that's when he had to be eliminated. And now there's a new report out.
He was trying to move his gold out of Libya too.
Believe me, Obama got his hands on Gaddafi's gold, and we still haven't given it back. We haven't given back Germany's gold. They've been asking for their gold back for a long time now. We never gave it back. All right, let's take our first break, and when we come back, we'll I want to talk about the Bundy Ranch for a little bit because, you know, that movement is still ongoing, and I want to talk about Bundy's comments because anybody with half a brain or a shred of honesty knows that he's an old rancher from a bygone era. The guy's 80 years old. You know, he might have used words that were not modern politically correct, but the way the context has been taken and shredded. Anyhow, we'll get to it. We'll be right back. And hello, everybody. We're back. You're listening to Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report, right here at PRN Radio Network. I'm Joanne Moretti, and my great co-host JoJo Norton is here with me, too, and we're happy you stuck around. Thank you so much. Our call-in number is 714-888-7404. And although all the watchmen in Alabama have been accounted for, a message to the watchmen for those who are in the tornado area or about to be affected by the tornado, please check in with your commanders. It's important that you check in before the tornado hits as much as it is after the tornado hits. If the watchmen have to come looking for you, we got to know where you started out at. So please, roll call tonight for everybody, every watchman that's in the tornado areas, contact your commanders, please. All right, JoJo, anything you want to bring up before we go into the Bundy Ranch segment?
No, go ahead. I was taking care of some local business.
All right.
Well, anyway, okay.
All right, you know all that's going on. You all have done all the research and stuff. You all know that the Bureau of Land Management hired a bunch of thugs to round up Mr. Bundy's cattle. And a bunch of patriots decided that wasn't going to happen any longer and went to help him out. A couple of days ago, Mr. Bundy was talking with, of all people, the New York Times, and he made a couple of comments of his own observations. He had been in town and, you know, he had gone by some projects, and he had noticed that, you know, the people were out on their porches and there were idle hands everywhere. He's an old rancher. He's 80 years old. He doesn't speak the modern liberal language that's so prevalent in universities in the the Northeast and out in California. And he said some comments that could have been misconstrued, like he used the word slavery. He used picking cotton. I actually did some research on that when he said that they never learned to pick cotton. that's a euphemism for they never learned to do hard work and never had any structure, so they don't know how to do it, a job like that. The government is giving people subsidies, but they're not giving them jobs. So even though you're getting some money from the government, you still have idle hands. And I think that was his message. Now, everybody who's there at that ranch knows Mr. Bundy is not a racist, but you couldn't tell that the way that the media has picked up on this. it still doesn't take away the fact that this man is a victim. He's not the first rancher this has happened to. As a matter of fact, he's the last rancher there in Nevada. We all know that the mitigation process is, even though the solar plant is not going to be built exactly in that area where his cows graze, that area is going to be used for conservation because of the solar plant that's being built 50 miles away. If you're going to build a solar plant, you have to make sure that the wildlife in that area is established. So you got to pick them up and move them to an area away from where you're going to build. That's part of the agreement. The land in question was for the solar company that Harry Reid's son-in-law and son and their law firm. He's got 4 boys that are in this law firm. And negotiated with the Chinese. So even in their statement about the about the mitigation, it says it's for the solar project. So the money in it and the nepotism and the corruption and all of that. Now there's a rumor going around, and we got to talk about this rumor because there's some serious stuff that could be connected to this. This rumor is that somebody who's allegedly an insider contact of possibly the Oath Keepers is saying that Eric Holder has been considering a drone strike on Americans at the Bundy Ranch. I want to tell you, like I said, there's a rumor going around like wildfire. Eric Holder, on behalf of the Obama administration and Harry Reid's insistence, by the way, considering a drone strike on Americans, on American soil at the Bundy Ranch. I got to tell you, I want to see some docs, some transcripts, some audio or evidence, any evidence at all on this. Please, guys, don't take this rumor as evidence. That would be an action like this would be very, very serious. And make no mistake, something like this would not be tolerated. This would be a declaration of war, as a matter of fact, against the American people. Killing Americans who have committed no crime? Are you kidding me? That would spark a bloody civil war. Before they pull a stunt like that, the politicians should have all their travel plans in hand, at least. Remember, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is in the Constitution. The first word is life, as a matter of fact. A move like that would violate the First, the Second, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, Seventh, Eighth, and Ninth Amendments. It would also violate posse comitatus because that would have to be a military operation on American soil against Americans. That would mean that revolution would be justifiable. I believe these politicians, especially Eric Holder and Obama, know that, and Harry Reid. So, by the way, who are they going to get to do this operation? An American? I doubt that, too, at least until all politicians move their families and their assets out of the country. Many people at that ranch are both Democrat and Republican, as well as other political or non-political persuasions. This move by any government erases the political boundaries they set up between all of us. Make sure you have evidence before believing this story. Here's the story. Report claims Eric Holder approved drone strike against Bundy Ranch. Now, our friend Joe Newby wrote this, and he's not saying he believes it, but he's just putting it out there that this is what's being said. On Friday, John Jacob Schmidt of Radio Free Redoubt said that according to Stuart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers, Attorney General Eric Holder has approved drone strikes against the Bundy Ranch to take place sometime in the next 48 hours. That didn't come to fruition, by the way. According to Schmidt, the information came from a source Oath Keepers has within the Department of Defense. That source, according to the report, allegedly said Attorney General Eric Holder authorized what is known as a hot drone strike against the ranch. Such a strike, he added, would effectively kill everyone at the ranch. Schmidt said that as far as he could determine, there had been no attempt to follow through with the alleged threat. He also expressed hope that a planned strike against Americans on U.S. soil could be averted. Are you kidding me? Averted? Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If they do a drone strike against innocent Americans who have committed no crime for the BLM who was there to collect a civil debt, and as a matter of fact, the BLM contractors have no law enforcement authority, and we'll get to that in a minute. Anyhow, according to a post at the Liberty Beacon, Rhodes said feds are treating the Bundy Ranch situation like a bomb threat in a school. Leslie Bishop Hall, the National Administrator of Oath Keepers, said on Facebook, the information may not be valid. That brings me to this point. Why would Stuart Rhodes put information that may or may not be valid, that allegedly came from an insider, that didn't offer any proof whatsoever, not a document, not an audio, not a photograph, transcript, nothing, to back this story up? I'm thinking that whoever is supposedly inside the Department of Defense has been compromised. And this is an intentional planting of information to cause rift. They want people to run away from that ranch. Now, Mr. Bundy is a victim. Whether you like what he said or whether you don't like what he said, he's still a victim. You know, this guy and all the other ranches were systematically driven out of public land that they had grazing permits for at one point. Those permits were rescinded and completely stopped, which effectively drove the ranches out of business. If you can't graze your cattle, you're not going to have any cattle. So you got to go out of business. Well, Bundy's the last one there. And it's not just isolated to Nevada or to Bundy. You see what's going on. They're trying to take 90,000 acres in Texas at the Texas-Oklahoma border. Well, that's not going to happen according to the folks in Texas. And the people in Texas, they actually have deeds to the property in question. So, you know, this isn't going to go away. And if this government thinks that they're going to pull a drone strike, even if they were just joking and bantering it around, that's not something you joke about. That is a very serious attack. That's a declaration of war on the American people, if you ask me. Those people haven't committed a crime.
From way back when Pete Santilli was there and they were having a standoff, there was the hidden audio that Santilli had, or where I don't remember who had the audio. I had to be Santilli. That Daniel P. Love guy they identified when he was talking to Santilli off the record. He said that he was holding his cell phone. He said, I got the DOJ right here on the phone. So if that's true, then Daniel P. Love was in direct contact with Eric Holder at that time, and that was back around April the 9th, 10th, or 11th.
Yes, and if he's currently working as a defense contractor, that makes him a Fed. And for him to pull an operation against American citizens, that is a violation of posse comitatus. That's a declaration of war. Now, on Saturday, Judge Jeanine Pirro, her opening statement, she said something very, very poignant. She said a lot of good things. But what she said was they had no law enforcement authority. So here you are, you got a bunch of hired thugs by the BLM who are not cops or any federal law enforcement agency, aiming guns at American citizens on behalf of the United States government. Listen to what Jeanine Pirro had to say. It's a very short video.
This week, United States Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid continued trashing ordinary Americans over land grabs. And you need to be concerned because the land grabs haven't ended. And who knows, will your land be next? You know, Reid labeled opponents of his federal land grab domestic terrorists. This after calling terminally ill cancer patients who say that they've lost their doctors liars, and calling a prominent family that builds hospital wings, schools, and gives away hundreds of millions of dollars to charity un-American. Senator Harry Reid, the name-calling goes both ways. So, Senator, I've decided to change your name to Harry. Dirty Harry. The story that I'm about to tell you starts with Dirty Harry's longtime senior aide, his puppet on a string with virtually no experience at the Bureau of Land Management, who now runs it. That bureau today eyeing 116 miles on the border between Texas and Oklahoma, an estimated 90,000 acres that BLM says belongs to the public. So what's behind these land grabs? Are they really about protected animals like tortoises and owls? Or might Dirty Harry be up to something more sinister? Now, the state of Nevada is essentially desert. For years, Dirty Harry introduced bills transferring federal land to county commissioners to sell to profiteers building homes and shopping malls, not giving a damn about the tortoises, routinely killing them, all sanctioned by BLM. Tortoises be damned. Now, fast forward, a newfound concern for the tortoise. How dare the cattle graze where the tortoise should roam? So Harry Reid, so incensed that armed military-type agents come in like stormtroopers. The BLM, with no police authority, comes in like military paratroopers to move some cows? You need snipers to move cows, Harry? Really? And then miraculously, you back off for so-called, quote, safety reasons. So, Harry, why did your guys show up armed to the teeth like they're about to fight Al-Qaeda if you were so concerned about safety? Folks, a little primer here. If a developer wants to build a mall or a solar energy complex where protected species live, they have to find a mitigation area to move the protected species there, in this case, the tortoise. Bottom line, building where there's a protected animal requires that you move that animal somewhere else where it can survive. So, folks, this is bigger than Bundy, whose comments recently, by the way, were outrageous. But it's bigger than him, and herein lies the rub. Dirty Harry's son-in-law is in a firm that represents a Chinese company that wants to develop the largest solar energy complex in America in, guess where, Nevada, on land occupied by the tortoise, on land that Harry Reid's son helped locate for the Chinese and helped them purchase at well below market value. Appraisal? Between 28 and 36 million. Purchase price, $4.5 million. Now, Dirty Harry himself is pals with the owner of that Chinese company, energy tycoon Wang Yuzhou, who hosted Dirty Harry in China and who Harry featured at one of his events. How to seal the deal? Get rid of those pesky tortoises. Query. Where should the Chinese put the tortoise? Harry and his puppet have an answer. Harry proposes a mitigation area. The BLM, Bureau of Land Management, actually posts documents on its website designating the mitigation area so that the solar power project can move forward. Unfortunately, that designated mitigation area has cattle on it. So at first blush, everyone said, no, this land grab has nothing to do with Harry's solar energy plant because that was going to be 50 miles away. But, folks, it has everything to do with the land grab. The land where the cattle grazed was the mitigation area that BLM posted so that the solar power project over here could go forward. Bingo! In true Dirty Harry mode, you move the cow so that we can move the tortoises there so that Harry's pal and the Chinese clients of Harry's son can build the solar energy plant. Guess what? The BLM deleted the document that was entitled Cattle Trespass Impacts Solar Development. A little too incriminating, you think, Harry? You know, it's no surprise that people who represent us in Congress are more concerned with lining their own pockets and the pockets of their family members than they are of representing us. Dirty Harry's arrogance, his condescension, and his name-calling is only surpassed by his chutzpah. Now, Dirty Harry came into Congress with $1.8 million. He made a few $100,000 a year, and then reports a net worth of more than $10 million. Harry, here's what I think. The questions were getting a little too close for comfort. So you called off your paramilitary raid on the cows using safety as an excuse. But safety had nothing to do with it. Unless, of course, you're talking about the safety of your reputation. Harry, in my other life, I did investigations. I presented cases to grand juries day in and day out. Oh, to be a prosecutor again. Oh, to present this to a grand jury. Oh, to put Dirty Harry under oath on the witness stand. Oh, to be able to say, go ahead, Harry, lie to me now. Lie to me under oath. Go ahead, Harry, make my day.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That woman is good, huh, JoJo?
Yeah, but we have to go back to the beginning. The Carcieri fix. C-A-R-C-I-E-R-I fix. That's where it actually started in 2009. Now, that's where our investigation started. Now we've moved all the way up to the land deals and the solar and oil and gas leases, and there's so much to this. I mean, at one point I know we had over 200 documents, and I didn't get to read all of them. I didn't have time to read all of them, but Carol Ray has really, and Lisa and some others have read. I mean,
everybody has been researching, all of us. And
now, I want to say,
we have an amazing team, man.
I want to say this. I'm trying to find it. Lisa has spent a couple of days in the tax assessor's office in Nevada. I hope I can say this. Anyway, hang on. I'm trying to get my stupid Facebook to work. Oh, gosh. Anyway, she spent several days going over documents. She says, upon our trip to the assessor's office last week looking for documents that have been scrubbed, meaning no paperwork exists for the property under Reed Bunkerville any longer. Anyhow, came upon another interesting thing. Back in 2006, Roy Reed and his wife Cynthia took out a massive loan for a planned development in Henderson, luxury homes and all. In the file I found while there was nothing in it as to how much the loan was for, who gave the loan, taxes, nothing. Just a lonely little document stating they got a loan for this, and the address attached was for Hillsborough Heights, planned development, Henderson, Nevada. Everything was basically scrubbed. So,
I know that there's some people. I know that there's some people that got their hands on some of the information before it was disappeared. But I mean, this isn't about Bundy per se. Bundy is a victim, and does it really matter what the old guy said about a personal observation? It was so taken out of context and run with.
So, I mean, let's just say this. What if he happened to drive by some projects that there was a bunch of Asians sitting outside doing the same thing? By putting the word Negro in it and implying that they were black, but he just happened to drive by that scenario. It was an observation he made. And the observation was, it's just like the government did the Indians. They stuck them on reservations and they took care of them. And as I reported 2 weeks ago, a long time ago, before this Carcieri bill, which I think was 1934, they tried. It was actually earlier than that. They tried to assimilate the Indians into modern society at that time, and the Indians were unable to assimilate. So that's when they broke it all down and put them in these little tribal reservation things. So, I mean, if you just take the whatever out of it, it's all about big government. It's all about what big government has done to certain people, whether you're red, black, yellow, green, purple. It's all about what big government has done to tie people down, to put them into these little pockets of society where they're totally dependent upon big government and totally controlled. I mean, that's what it's about.
And Bundy's not the only one that said it. Bill Cosby said it.
A bunch of black people have come out and said he's right. He's an old man. He talks like an old man. Everybody expected him to be politically correct like a 30-year-old. I mean, what he said was correct. Maybe he didn't fluff it up enough.
He just didn't use the politically correct words, the new modern language where everybody has to tiptoe around on eggshells because they might offend the perpetually pissed people. But I found something else, too, JoJo. The other night on O'Reilly.
Oh,
Goldberg,
God, I
Bernie,
don't know if we even have to mention
listen, this is important, though. Bernie Goldberg and Bill O'Reilly were talking about the media, and Media Matters, as a matter of fact. Media Matters is a Soros-funded, backed front group, and they pay media to attack the opposition. Now, they were talking about Cheryl Atkinson, who we love around here. Cheryl Atkinson, she's the one that broke the Fast and Furious story. She's the one that CBS ended up parting ways with her because they weren't giving her any airtime at all, and she wanted to talk about the Fast and Furious, but they were taking money to not talk about Fast and Furious and all kinds of stuff. Well, Bill O'Reilly and Bernie Goldberg, through talking about, and Media Matters, as a matter of fact, put this out. Media Matters was all excited because Bernie Goldberg said Cheryl didn't have one shred of evidence to say that Media Matters was paying anyone. But if you listen closely to what Bill O'Reilly says, and I'm going to play it for you in a second. This one's a 2-minute video.
I'm going to have to go somewhere for this. I can't stand to listen to Bill O'Reilly.
You don't. But listen, what he does is he accidentally admits that all media, including Fox, takes money. JoJo, you really should listen to this one. And, just forget that it's Bill O'Reilly, but listen to the admissions on this one. I'm going to play it for you. And you got to hear it. They admit that they are compromised.
Back in the book segment tonight, honesty on the Internet, 2 words, forget it. There's no supervision on the net, therefore various websites have sprung up doing a bunch of terrible things. One of those websites is Media Matters, tax-exempt organization which daily defames conservatives. Recently, former CBS News correspondent Cheryl Atkinson said this.
Media Matters, is my understanding, is a far-left blog group that I think holds itself out to be sort of an independent media watchdog group. And yes, they clearly targeted me at some point. They used to work with me on stories or try to help me, produce my stories. But when I persisted with Fast and Furious and some of the green energy stories that I was doing, I clearly at some point became a target that they I don't know if someone paid them to do it or they just took it on their own, but they were very much in love.
That's possible? Someone would pay them?
Well, they get contributions they get contributions.
All right. In fact, 2010, liberal billionaire George Soros announced he was giving $1 million to Media Matters to defame people. Joining us now from Miami, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. So is there anything wrong with taking money to hurt people with whom you disagree?
I think the line on that, Bill, is very bright. What is not acceptable is to take money from wealthy partisans who tell you or who imply that they want you to either defame their opponents or smear them in some way or bring them down by any means necessary because they're too powerful. That is unacceptable. What is acceptable, however, is to take money either on the right or the left from people, partisans of any kind, who say, I want you to point out the biases and the inaccuracies of the other side. That's acceptable. As it pertains specifically to Cheryl Atkinson, there is not a shred of evidence that anybody gave Media Matters any money with instructions to rip her. Even she doesn't. She's an investigative reporter, believe me, and she's hawking a book. If she had any evidence that somebody paid Media Matters to bring her down, she would be talking about it.
All right, but I believe that...
Oh, it went out on me, dang. But if you heard that, they say that it's okay for these partisan groups to give money to media to harm the opposite side. And the thing went out on me, but as it goes on, Bill O'Reilly says that all media outlets do it, including Fox to a lesser degree, he says. So if you apply that to the Bundy situation, who's paying the media to pull these gotcha things? Who sent the New York Times down there was my point. But here they are on national television telling the world that media is compromised, that they take money from special interest groups to shape the message. So when you're thinking Bundy might have said something wrong, no, he didn't. There are powerful people that are using the media, buying off the media to harm Mr. Bundy and the movement. So, you know, you can only listen to the people on the ground and the folks that are deeply involved in the situation. Don't listen to the media is my point. Don't listen to them when they're telling you about all this racism and stuff. And we're going to do a racism segment in a few minutes. But, you know, you are very intelligent people. Everyone out there that's listening, you're all smart. Just listen to what the man said. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to damage this movement. They see the pushback. They see the awakening, and it's scaring the stuffing out of our oppressive regime that we have in power right now. Like I said before, follow the money. You know the solar plant is going to have all kinds of nice little kickbacks and campaign donations. You know the other land developers. One of the land developers said, I'm going to build he bought the land and the mine rights, and he never reopened the mine. What he's done now is he's in process of building an entire community on this parcel of land that he purchased out there in the desert. He even said, we're going to have schools, we're going to have churches, we're going to have a mall. The people who live here will be upper echelon income, and they'll never even have to leave the track. Do you know what that sounds like? Agenda 21, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. But see, they're going in and taking these old mines. I don't have, and they're telling these Indians, the Paiute Indians, that they're going to restructure these mines, and they're going to bring jobs to their communities. And it's not just Clark County; it's also Lyon County and another county. They're going to, they're promising these Indians that they're going to transfer the land back to the Indians, which we now know, we figured that was a farce. The land's actually getting transferred to other people. But they're telling these Indians, that they're going to redo these mines. They're going to have 800 to 1,000 jobs, and they're all going to have good jobs, and their economy's going to be good, and blah, 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 blah. And that one mine I investigated 2 or 3 weeks ago was the Anaconda mine. That's the one in Yerington, Nevada, this Lyon County. So... they've gone in when they first had that mine. They've ruined the environment and the water and everything for the Indian reservation. But basically, they're trying to tell these Indians that they're going to do this land transfer, the Carcier fix is what all that about, and that the Indians are thinking that they're going to get all this land, but the Indians are balking because they know they're going to get screwed. Because if they're going to reopen a copper or uranium mine, they want a percentage of the profit, not just 800 jobs.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of stuff playing in on all this. But meanwhile, we know that Harry Reid owns a whole bunch of land. So somehow he got it, and his son.
He owns land. He owns land near the Bundy Ranch, almost adjacent to the Bundy Ranch. And
so between Harry Reid, the federal government owns 86% of Nevada. So I guess Harry Reid owns 5% or whatever.
Well, see,
I
there's a good question.
Nevada don't own nothing.
There's a good question, JoJo. How did Harry Reid end up being the owner of land that was formerly public? And if you look at the land deeds, it says that there was exchanged for $0. So is he just confiscating land from the federal government and putting it in his own name? This guy needs an investigation, a big one.
Well, we've been investigating. We have over 200 documents, but that's the whole point. All those tax records and all those records are gone from the tax assessor's office. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, they know. They know that there is a lot more researchers than just us, although I got to tell you something. I have never seen a research team go as deep and dig as fully as our team has. You would not believe. Like JoJo said, they got 200 documents. Over 200 documents, and I've seen most of them. So, I mean, our team is all over this. What the biggest problem is a lot of people saying a lot of things on different venues, and none of the stories are matching. And that, too, is by design. If there's infiltrators in there, they're going to just, change the message and change a lot of things. They're going to plant seeds of dissent. Like this story about the drone attack. You think people are going to stick around if they think that there's going to be a drone attack? Sounds to me like it was a pretty good tactic to put that out there to try to break up that crowd of patriots. Also,
well, I mean, they've obviously been infiltrated. I mean, nobody knows for sure who, but obviously, and I mean, that would be expected. You send in some guys, and they're really not who they say they are, or whatever. But hopefully they're going to work all that out.
All right, Lisa's in our chat room. She says that she found a document in Reed's name in Searchlight that has a mineral study attached to it, and it's listed as a government Lot 4. So how could government property belong to Harry Reid? I also saw a video with Harry Reid explaining about public land, and he was pointing to himself. If you know anything about body language, he was saying that land was his, just with his body. Now, excuse me, there's another situation going on. Across the street from the Bundy property is also more big land. There's a group of people. They're calling themselves Burning Man, but that is an out-and-out lie. If you ask me, it has all the earmarkings of an Acorn-like operation. You remember Steve Lerner, who helped organize Occupy, and he took those sincere kids and hijacked that whole movement. Acorn did by
so they're all, is it
Lerner.
True they're all going to go out there and get naked or something? Is that true?
Well, there is a...
They're going to get sunburned. I bet they're not used to the desert sun. That'll be kind of funny. They'll all be all red and swollen and blistered up. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've all heard of Lilith Fair and things like that. This is called Burning Man. The actual ones that these people do, they go to a remote area and they have like a Woodstock party and everybody gets naked and high and drink and all that and party just unrestricted. However, those do happen. Those are legit. This one is not legit. This has all the earmarkings, just like we pointed it out with Egypt and we pointed it out with Occupy. This is an orchestrated event. Now, I got a question for everybody out there.
Don't forget we sent people into Ukraine to start mess, too.
True. Now, I got a question for you. What anarchist ever did an operation or a party or anything else that would benefit the man, that would help the federal government against a single American citizen who just wants to let some cattle eat some grass? All right, grass grows back. Now, anarchists do not support the government. Burning Man, the group Burning Man, who is actually the leader of these Burning Man events, they have publicly put out on Twitter several times they have nothing to do with organizing, orchestrating, or anything else to do with this alleged, they're calling Bundy Fest. It has nothing to do with Burning Man. It has nothing to do with the anarchists. It has nothing to do with Anonymous. So who is it? It's another fake Occupy-like. I'm not saying Occupy is fake because I know a lot of those kids were sincere. The movement got hijacked. No anarchist is going to go against a single American citizen on behalf of the federal government. They don't like the federal government. So if anybody's calling it a Burning Man, it's not it. It's a fraud.
Time out. Got some breaking news. Catastrophic tornado on the ground 6 miles south of Lynchburg, Tennessee. Debris ball is 20,000 feet in the air.
20,000 feet? That's a big tornado to get that debris ball that high. Oh, my God. People pray. People pray. Catastrophic tornado on the ground 6 miles south of Lynchburg, Tennessee. Debris ball, 20,000 feet in the air. I got to tell you something. If you are northeast of Lynchburg, Tennessee, you better take cover too, because that's the direction these storms are headed, northeast.
Yeah, they're fixing to go into Kentucky. We got a lot of watchmen in Kentucky, but I know they're all got their ear to the ground. They're on top of it. So that's what watchmen do. So we know they're all good. They'll be watching, waiting, getting ready.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. All right. Patriot Angel saying, could someone please turn off the harp? No, man, you Southerners pissed off the federal government. They're going to turn that puppy up. If it's hot, man, they got it all the way up to 10. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Guys, just say prayers. All right. The feds are stepping in Chicago. More than 40 people were shot. Yep, feds.
Oh, the feds?
They're stepping in. Yep, the federal government is stepping into Chicago. More than 40 people were shot in Chicago over Easter weekend, and the feds are stepping in. This is from the Huffington Post. It's very rare I do a story from them because they are the most left-leaning, biased people. But as far as this story goes, they say the feds are stepping into Chicago's seemingly intractable gun violence problem. A newly formed prosecutorial unit called the Violent Crimes Section will focus solely on how federal statutes can be used to stem the city's bloody gun crime epidemic, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago announced Monday. The unit began operations April 1st. It says the announcement comes after 5 children were shot. And, of course, you know how they do that with the sob story and all that. But think about this. The feds going into a city with their newly formed prosecutorial unit called Violent Crime Section. Do you think that the federal government is going to stop at Chicago? No, they're not. The federal government is using this to get their foot in the door so that they will be allowed in every city. I mean, you know, if you relax the gun laws, it'll probably sort itself out. All these criminals will think twice. Chicago has the most stringent gun laws in the country. You can't buy a gun in or around Chicago, but guns are prevalent everywhere. These people are just shooting each other, going crazy. And the people who are law-abiding, they don't have guns, so they're sitting ducks up there. I don't care how many laws you make. Criminals are not going to obey the laws. What are you going to do, make a law that makes criminals obey laws? They don't obey the laws we have now. Anyone think more gun laws are going to work? You probably should think again. And then letting the feds inside city government to do law enforcement, that's not going to stop at Chicago. By this time, 3 years from now, they'll be in every city. They'll have federal task force in every city in the United States. I mean, they already got FBI offices in every city. Now, California, on the other hand, the Supreme Court said that the Second Amendment is a right, and California had no authority to infringe on it in regards to concealed carry permits. Well, law enforcement in California are stunned by the booming rate of California concealed carry applications. In the 2 months, this is Breitbart, in the 2 months since the United States Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down the good cause requirement in California law, officials have been stunned by the looming rate of concealed carry permits application. Before, you had to have a good reason you wanted a gun, a concealed carry permit, and it was up to whoever you asked permission from to decide whether it was good enough reason or not. Well, they found that to be unconstitutional, and now the rate of gun permit applications has gone so off the charts that they have to hire 30 more people to help sort through them. So I wanted to tell you that, you know, Chicago's not going to be solved with anti-gun laws. If you relax the laws, though, the problem will probably solve itself. Now, you got to remember, too, that Chicago is home to some of the biggest Mexican drug cartels in the world. It's a direct line. And remember, a lot of these cartels have immunity granted to them by the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois, including that guy Cordoba. Remember his brothers were blowing up casinos down in Mexico? And remember that whole story? Kiko was here telling us about the Zetas and the all the other gangs. Yeah, the Sinaloas. The Sinaloas are the ones that have the direct pipeline into Chicago. So they're not just bringing drugs in there. Of course they're bringing the guns in there. So you can put all the gun laws you want on all the Americans, and the Mexican cartels are still bringing them in. As a matter of fact, our own ATF was sending guns, running guns to the Sinaloas in the Fast and Furious stings. Boy, the ATF got slapped down, too, when I'm talking about their stings. But I want to talk about racism for a second, all right? Dartmouth University, the PC police, banned white people from using the word fiesta. A couple of girls over at Dartmouth University wanted to have a fiesta party, and they were going to have nachos and salsa and pina coladas and margaritas and all of that. Well, there was one Mexican-born, United States-raised, first-generation woman of color, a Dartmouth student, and she put up a big stink about it. So now white people cannot use the word fiesta at Dartmouth University. That seems to me like a university is making rules for one specific race, white people. Do you know that erases everything that we fought the civil rights movement, about the 1960s? That was for race equality, not race superiority. One race couldn't be superior over the other. So you got Mr. Bundy in trouble because he happened to notice some social issues. You got these girls at Dartmouth University who can't even use the word fiesta. Does that mean we can't say taco? You know,
I mean, how the hell are we going to order something from Taco Bell is what I want to know, because I kind of like to eat Taco Bell about once a month.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to order it? So I'm supposed to pull up at the drive-thru, and I'm going to have to say I want a corn
I would like a corn tortilla.
Fried thing with some hamburger meat, lettuce, tomatoes, sour cream in it. Is that how I got to order a taco?
Yeah. What are we going to,
I want one of those little
Bell
packages with sauce in it, and can I say fire hot or medium? I mean, I don't know.
Well,
so you can't say enchilada.
Yeah, well, this anti-white stuff got to go, too, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at the children. Did they have any say in what race they were going to be? This is just so stupid. And then banning words. What's
stupid is it's Alinsky. Just like when the Bundy thing came out, I mean, people, what have we been trying to teach on Facebook for 5 years, people? Alinsky. And, and for years and years and years, we can have a United Negro College Fund, but can we have a United Asian College Fund or a United White College Fund? If we had a United Caucasian College Fund, they would go friggin' crazy.
Yeah, well,
but
now
yet,
I don't even think you can say white anymore.
Yeah, no, what are we going to call ourselves? Well, you're Italian.
Caucasian persuasion.
I'm
but I want to tell you something about all these people screaming racism. Let's talk about Jesse Jackson for a minute. Some of the sisters over at Twitter pointed out a comment that he had said. Back in 1998, he said, this is Jesse Jackson's direct quote, "There is nothing more painful to me at this stage in my life than to walk down the street and hear footsteps and start thinking about robbery. Then look around and see somebody white and feel relieved. After all we've been through, just think we can't walk down our own streets. How humiliating." Jesse Jackson said that. He also said, that's all Jaime wants to talk about is Israel. Every time you go to Jaime Town, that's all they want to talk about. And then Harry Reid, who is exploiting Mr. Bundy, said, he's clean and articulate with no Negro dialect. He was talking about Obama. He used the word Negro. Okay, so those are direct quotes. You can look them up.
Mhm. Well, it just gets old. It just gets really old, and it's so straight up Alinsky tactics.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. All right, let's move on a little bit here. A federal judge blasted the ATF stings today. USA Today put this out. It says, a federal judge in Los Angeles blasted the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the sting operations, that he said unfairly enlist enlist people in a made-up crime by offering them a huge payday for robbing a non-existent drug stash house, declaring those tactics outrageous and unconstitutional. U.S. District Court Judge Otis Wright took the unusual steps last week of throwing out charges against a man arrested by ATF agents after one such sting. Society does not win when the government stoops to the same level as the defendants that it seeks to prosecute, especially when the government has acted solely to achieve a conviction for a made-up crime. What the government was doing was they made up this stash house, and then they got a couple of guys in the neighborhood all excited and said, there was drugs there and money there, and why don't they rob the place? So the guys took the ATF's suggestion, and they went to rob the place, and then they got busted for robbing the place. So the ATF made up the crime, entrapped the people who supposedly were robbing the place, and it was never a stash house to begin with. There was never anything in that stash house. It was all made up. And the same thing that they did with the ATF, with the Fast and Furious stuff. Remember that guy, the handicapped kid, the mentally handicapped kid that they made get a tattoo of a squid on his neck? And then they arrested him? Yeah.
I know
the federal judge just said all of that was unconstitutional. So,
well, I just got to tell everybody out there, I know everybody listens is from a different state.
Yeah.
About who's running, and you better find out quick, and you better support, and you better find somebody that supports this Constitution, because we are one little hair away from losing our whole Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Our last
hope,
Jojo,
let me interrupt
hope is for the Senate, okay?
We have a caller, and we only got about 5 minutes left, so let's open up this microphone. Area code 479. You're live.
Hello?
Hello? You're live, hon.
Yeah. This is, we'll say Ralph this time.
Okay, Ralph. Do you have a question or a comment for us?
I was just calling to find out if you have any details on the Bundy Ranch. Did the Oath Keepers run? Did they take off running, or what? Are they?
I don't know.
We're going to hold up on that because we have there's so much disinformation going out right now. I don't want to, there's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of disinformation. Everybody's just saying, you have the Bundy Ranch page on Facebook. I have some communication with some people who are actually there, but I don't want to put anything out yet because I don't know what's rumor and what's not rumor right now. And, there's just been so much put out that's not true. I just would rather not even speculate on that. I know the stories out there, but I don't know.
Where's the best source of information? It'd be that their Facebook page?
That's what everybody keeps saying. Bundy Ranch Facebook page.
Well, no. There's a Bundy Ranch one that they have set up, but there's also another one. Let me get you the name of it, the actual name of it, because they put out a lot of information over there. I'm just scrolling down here.
There are let me just say this. There are some fake Facebook pages that have been put out by people that are not the Bundy Ranch. The Bundy Ranch page has 123,000 likes, and that's the one that's supposed to be the actual real one.
That is the official page. She's absolutely correct, and it's just Bundy Ranch at Facebook. But also there's another one, and there's a lot of people posting, and I have seen it's very well run, and it's called American Armed Posse to Save Freedom and the Bundy Ranch.
American
Armed Posse to Save Freedom and the Bundy Ranch.
Okay.
Operation Bundy Freedom. Okay. There's a bunch of people over there posting, and they seem to be doing a really good job, pretty accurate. Now I saw that your question. I saw that go by me, but I have no way of verifying that yet. Now, but we're on the air. But that information, I'm sure, will be made public very, very soon. What you asked about the Oath Keepers. Oath Keepers is a really good organization. There's some fantastic people that are members of that, So I don't know what's going on. There might be a little rift going on or whatever. I have no idea of knowing. But things are, there's a lot of egos involved, and some people not Oath Keepers and some that are. So that's got to get sorted out. I saw it go by me that they were leaving, but I can't verify that right now.
I don't know what the exact definition of unorganized militia is, but I'm thinking that maybe it should be a little less unorganized or a little more unorganized.
I don't
know. Because it looks like everybody wants to be chief, and I think that's the problem.
That happens in a lot of situations. But yeah, they should everybody chill and assign a mission command, and then set it up and everybody follow it. And
do you think there's going to be more militia people headed down there?
That's what we heard.
There's people that come and go every day.
Okay.
That's what we heard, that one of the guys there has asked for some more help. But I really just don't want to put out any information right now because things are kind of tense there, and
I'm not an authority.
So many disinformation. There's all these yahoos on YouTube making YouTube videos. You never know who's for real, who's not for real.
I know.
It's just crazy. So, the people we have that we know that are actually there keep referring to, if you don't hear it from us or from the Bundy Ranch Facebook page, and that's been the biggest problem for the last 2 weeks is there's so much disinformation.
Hey, I have to cut this short because we're running out of time.
Okay.
But
sure.
keep your eyes on the PRN chat rooms too. Keep coming back to PRN because the folks here can get you that information quickly. And I want to thank you for calling in. All right, thank you very much, dear, for calling in. All right, Jojo, say good night.
Yes. Good night. See y'all. Everybody, pay attention to the weather. Bye.
All right, Jojo's right. Everybody, listen to the authorities. Like I said, the cemetery's full of heroes. You're not going to fight this storm, so just keep yourself and your family safe. And watchmen, check in with your commanders before you get hit with the storm if you are in the path, and afterwards too, because we'll have to know where you are, and after the storm we're going to have to know you're okay so we don't have to go looking for you. We've got to go look for everybody else. On that, everybody, thank you very much for listening. Anna, Lynn, Astro, Turf, our whole crew.